A couple of weeks ago, OpenAI, the company behind ChatGPT, the company that is valued at $852 billion, dropped a 13-page document. They call this document the Industrial Policy for the Intelligence Age. Now, if you heard the title and thought, that sounds like something for politicians and policy nerds, I get it. That is exactly what they want you to think. But here's what the document actually is. It is technically a roadmap that Sam Altman and OpenAI are telling you in black and white what they believe is coming. And what they believe is coming is superintelligence. Now, what is superintelligence? It is an AI system that outperforms the smartest human beings, even when those human beings are assisted by AI. That's not happening in 20 years. That's not happening in 5. It's happening now. The transition has started, and buried inside that policy paper are proposals that will directly affect your career, your income, your benefits, your job security, and how you do business. In this document are things like a public wealth fund, robot taxes, 4-day work weeks, and treating AI access as a fundamental right, and a complete overhaul of how safety nets work. So today, I'm going to do 3 things. First, I'm going to break down the 5 proposals from this paper that matter most to you, not to politicians, not to Silicon Valley, to you. Second, I'm going to give you my honest take on what this transition is going to feel like. And I will challenge myself where I think I might be wrong. And third, I'm going to give you practical steps that you can take this week, not next year, this week. So let's get into it. Welcome to Future Ready with Bryce Barrows. I'm your Future Readiness Architect, and today we're going into territory that I think every single one of you needs to hear, but most importantly, to take action. Section 2. What is OpenAI actually saying? Now, before we get into the specific proposals, I need to point out a couple of things, because this paper is not what it looks like on the surface. On the surface, it reads like OpenAI cares about people. Now, they talk about sharing prosperity in a broad manner, mitigating risk, and democratizing access. Beautiful language, and honestly, some of it is directionally correct. Some of these ideas, if implemented, would genuinely help people. But let's call it what it is. This is a tech policy, which sometimes is called a policy commercial. It is a marketing document dressed up as a policy paper. And it's no coincidence that OpenAI released this one day before Congress started debating AI legislation, and 3 weeks before a major legal trial. The timing was not an accident. And here is the part that should make everyone's eyebrows rise. OpenAI is the author of this document, the subject of this document, and the primary beneficiary of the policies that it proposes. They are essentially saying, let us build the most powerful technology in human history while you, the government, handle the fallout. Oh, and by the way, here is how you should handle it. Does that mean everything in this paper is wrong? No. Actually, this is what makes this so clever. The problems they identify are real. The disruptions they describe is coming. The question is whether their proposed solutions are genuine or just marketing tactics. And here is the kicker. There was a California bill called SB 1047. That was a bill that would have required all AI companies to submit to third-party audits and report safety incidences. Now, OpenAI actively helped to kill that bill. And then They published this paper proposing auditing regimes and incident reporting. I really cannot make this stuff up. This is what is known as the corporate shell game, my friend. Say the right things publicly and do the opposite privately. But none of this changes the fact that the disruption they are describing is real and that it's coming. So let us separate the messenger from the message and focus on what this actually means to your career. Section 3, the 5 proposals that matter to you. So let's have a look at the proposals. Proposal 1, the right to AI. Now, OpenAI is proposing that access to AI should be treated as foundational for participation in the modern economy. Similar to how we think about electricity or the internet or drinking water, they want affordable, reliable access to foundational AI models for everyone through free or low-cost access points, education, and training. Now, I actually think this is one of the more important proposals in the entire paper. And here's the reason why. Because access is the new dividing line. Right now, we have a gap which is growing between people who are using frontier AI tools professionally and people who are still experimenting on the free tier or not using AI at all. And here is where I push back on OpenAI. Access does not mean adoption, and adoption is not transformation. Giving everyone access to AI is like giving someone a gym membership who doesn't use it. It does not mean that everyone is going to get fit. The real challenge is not access, it is literacy. It is understanding how to use these tools to actually change how you do work, how you think, and how you solve problems. And here is what should concern you. Who controls this utility? If AI becomes an essential as electricity and utilities, it is owned by a handful of companies worth hundreds of billions of dollars, then right to AI could very quickly become dependency on AI. And dependency without understanding is a dangerous place to be. What this means for you: stop waiting for someone to give you access. You already have it. The question is whether you are using it at a professional level. If you are still on the free tier, you are bringing a water pistol to a gunfight. $20 a month for a frontier model is not a luxury. It is a professional necessity at this point in time. That is pillar 2 of my rapid response blueprint. It's called pro-grade immersion. Now, on to proposal 2, AI-first entrepreneurs. Now, this one is fascinating as it is directly relevant to many of you thinking about your next moves. OpenAI is proposing what they call startup in a box. The idea is simple. AI will be able to handle the overheads that usually block people from starting their businesses. This is accounting, marketing, procurement, legal compliance. Pair that with micro grants and microfinancing, plus revenue-based financing, and suddenly entrepreneurship becomes accessible to people who have deep domain expertise but no business infrastructure. Think about that for a second. If you have spent 20 years in supply chain, HR, or healthcare administration, or maybe engineering, you have domain expertise that is incredibly valuable. The thing that has stopped you from building your own business has been the small stuff, the accounting, the marketing, the legal. You see, AI is eating through those barriers right now. And I will be honest, this is one area where I think OpenAI is actually onto something real. Not because they are being generous, but because this is already happening. Some tech-savvy people are already using AI in building businesses faster than ever. The proposal just acknowledges what the market is already doing, but here is the reality check. Lower barriers to entry also means more competition. So if it is easier for you to start a business, it is easier for everyone to do so as well. The differentiator is not going to be AI. Everyone will have AI. The differentiator is going to be your domain knowledge, your judgment, and your ability to combine human insight with AI capability. That is your moat. Now, what this means for you, if you have been sitting on a business idea just because you do not know how to run a business, that excuse is expiring. So start exploring. Use AI to prototype your idea, build a business plan, test the market. Even if you're not ready to leave your job, start building something on the side. The window is open, but it will not stay open forever as competition increases. On to proposal 3, efficiency dividends and the 4-day work week. Now, this is the one that gets the most headlines, and I understand why. OpenAI is saying that when AI makes companies more productive, those gains should flow back to workers. So, what are we talking about? Higher retirement contributions, more healthcare coverage, subsidized childcare and elder care. And the big one, pilot programs for a 32-hour, 4-day work week with no loss in pay. Sounds amazing, right? And in theory, it is. But if AI can do in 4 days what used to take 5, why should you get that time back? But let me be the person in the room who says what everyone is thinking. When in history have companies voluntarily shared productivity gains with workers? When? The answer is almost never. Well, not without unions, not without legislation, and not without a fight. The paper uses the phrase incentivize companies. Now, that is corporate speak for we have no enforcement mechanism. All that it is a suggestion, not a mandate, and suggestions do not pay your mortgage. Look what happened with the internet revolution. Productivity went through the roof, corporate profits soared, but did workers get 4-day weeks? No. They got emails at 11 p.m. on a Sunday. They got an expectation of being always on. Productivity gains went to shareholders, not to people doing the work. Now, I'm not saying the 4-day week will never happen, but if it does, it will not be because OpenAI wrote a really nice paper about it. It will be because workers and their representatives demanded it, because governments legislated it, or because labor markets got so tight that companies had to offer it to attract talent. What this means for you: do not plan your career around the hope that your company will suddenly give you Fridays off. Instead, plan around the reality that you need to make yourself so valuable that you can negotiate your own terms. That might mean a 4-day week at your current employer because they cannot afford to lose you. Or it might mean building your own business where you set the schedule. So what is proposal 4 of theirs? It is the portable benefit. Now, this one is less sexy than the 4-day work week, but honestly, it might matter more to your daily life. OpenAI is proposing that benefits, your healthcare, your retirement savings, your skill trainings, they should not be tied to an employer. They should follow you across jobs, across industries, across careers. Right now, if you leave your job, you lose your health insurance, your employer match on retirement, in some countries called provident funds, your access to training budgets, and so on. Now, that system was designed for a world where people worked at one company for about 30 plus years. That world is gone. We live in an era of squiggly careers. People change their jobs every 2 to 4 years. Some of you are going to change your industries entirely. Tying benefits to an employer in that reality makes no sense. And this connects to something deeper. One of the biggest reasons people stay in jobs they hate, jobs that are making them miserable, jobs where they know they have no future, is because they are terrified of losing these benefits. So the companies tend to use this as a carrot on the stick. This is not career planning. That is hostage taking. It is modern slavery, and the employer knows it. Now, is this going to happen anytime soon? I honestly don't think so, especially in the US market. The healthcare lobby alone would fight it tooth and nail, but the direction is right. And in the meantime, you need to start thinking about your benefits as something you build for yourself, not something your employer gives you. Now, what does this mean for you? Start building your own safety net. If you do not have an emergency fund covering the next 6 months of expenses, that is job number one. Look into health insurance options outside your employer. Start a separate retirement account that you control. The less dependent you are on any single employer, and even if possible, the government, for your security, the more power you have over your own career. Now, on to proposal 5, worker perspectives and voice. Now, this is the proposal that most people will skim right past, but I think it deserves attention. You see, OpenAI is saying that workers should have a formal say in how AI is being deployed in their workplace, that workers should help decide which task AI takes over, how job quality is maintained, and what limits are placed on AI that could erode working conditions. Now, I have spent over 2 decades in HR at major corporations, and I can tell you off the bat, from the inside, this almost never happens. Companies will deploy new technology and tell the workers to adapt. The decision is made in C-suites, and by the time it reaches the people doing the actual work, it is a done deal. What is said to them? Here's the new system, learn it or leave. I only see workers taken into consideration where there's a very strong workers' union. Now, having said that, what I have seen happening right now with AI is no different. Companies are deploying AI tools without consulting their people, whose jobs will be mostly affected. Take, for example, the company Klarna, which replaced 700 customer service agents with AI. They did not ask those agents for input on how to do it better. They just did it. But here's the kicker. Recent developments show that Klarna actually had to quietly reverse course and rehire human agents because customer satisfaction tanked and complex problems were not being resolved. This is why I say we still need human judgment and that AI is not there. And I truly believe that the human domain expertise is your ultimate moat. So when OpenAI says workers should have a voice, I agree with them in principle. But I have zero confidence that companies will do this voluntarily. Now, what does this mean for you? Do not wait to be invited to the conversation. That isn't happening anytime soon. Instead, start it yourself. Go to your manager, ask, how is AI being implemented in our department? Ask which roles are being evaluated. Ask what the plan is. If you are not in the room when these decisions are being made, you are then on the menu. And that is not me being dramatic. That is 2,700 conversations worth of experience that I'm talking about. Section 4, my honest take. So I have broken down the proposal. Now, let me give you my honest assessment of what is coming. And I want to be as honest as I can be. I think my credibility matters more to me than telling you what you want to hear. My view is this: the transition is going to be tough in the start, messy in the middle, and if we handle it right, beneficial in the long run. Let me explain each part of these. and then let me challenge myself on it. Tough to start. This part I'm very confident about. For professionals who have built careers over 20 or 30 years, adopting AI is not just a technical challenge. It is an identity challenge. You have built your professional identity around being an expert, around knowing things. And now the world is asking you to go back to being a beginner. To admit that a machine can do parts of your job faster and better than you can, that is not easy. That is psychologically difficult. And most people will resist it for as long as possible. The OpenAI paper itself talks about AI systems going from handling tasks that people took months to do to now taking minutes. If you are a mid-career professional, some of those month-long tasks are what you get paid for. Your expertise, your judgment built over decades. When AI starts eating into that, it is going to sting. No paper or policy will change that feeling. Messy in the middle. Here is where I need to challenge myself. When I say messy in the middle, I think most people imagine a rough patch that lasts a year or two. I do not think that is realistic. If you look at history, the Industrial Revolution created prosperity in the long run. But the messy middle, that lasted for decades. The labor protections, the minimum wage laws, the safety standards, that took somewhere around 50 to 100 years to materialize. The internet transformed the economy, but stuff like data privacy, GDPR, this did not arrive until 25 years after the commercial web launched. Now, there is one reason to be slightly optimistic this time around. This disruption is the most anticipated technology shift in history. We can see it coming. Researchers at Chicago and Yale have pointed out that we have a chance to act proactively in a way that was absent from previous transitions. But, and this is a big but, having the chance to act proactively and actually acting proactively are two very different things. The political is not there. They require new taxation, expanded government spending, and a Congress willing to fund social infrastructure. None of that is on the legislative table right now. In fact, a former Senate AI policy advisor said most of this is not even new. Share prosperity, broadly mitigate risk, democratize access. That has been the framework for every major AI governance conversation since ChatGPT launched in 2022. Nothing has happened. So the messy middle is going to be messier and longer than most people think. Not because the solutions do not exist, but because the political system moves slower than how the technology is moving. On to my last belief, beneficial in the long run. This is where I want to be careful because this is where I could be wrong. And I could be wrong in a way that hurts people. History has always supported the idea that major technology transitions eventually create more prosperity than it destroys. Morgan Stanley economists studied 5 major US innovation waves from the Industrial Revolution through the internet, and it found that innovation ultimately complemented employment rather than eliminating it. More jobs were created than were destroyed. Living standards went up. But here is the uncomfortable truth. The people who benefited from the Industrial Revolution in the long run were not the same people who suffered through the transition. The first generation of factory workers lived in misery. Their grandchildren benefited. So if you are 45 or 50 years today, the long run might arrive after your peak earning years are over. The 4-day week, public wealth fund dividends, the portable benefits, those are 10 to 20-year policy horizons at best. You cannot wait for them. So when I say beneficial in the long run, I mean it at a societal level. For you individually, the benefit only arrives if you prepare now and if you act now before the shit hits the fan. And that is not me selling you something. That is 2,700 conversations telling you the people who waited were the people who got crushed. Columbia Business School researchers have also pointed out AI is spreading significantly faster than any other prior technology. The steam engine took nearly 100 years to reach peak adoption. Generative AI reached mass deployment in under 3 years. That means the messy middle is going to be compressed into a shorter, more intense window, which means the time to prepare is not years, it is months. Section 5, what to do this week. I have given you the analysis. Now let me give you the action points. Because analysis without action is just entertainment, and I'm not here to entertain you. I am here to make you ready for the future. So here are 5 things that you need to do this week. This is the same blueprint I provided you in the last episode. The only exception is that I am adding a safety net protocol in this blueprint. In addition, I am also talking about starting a side hustle. In my view, we are all going to eventually be entrepreneurs in the future. You might as well get a head start. So let's get on to the blueprint. Blueprint pillar 1. Do the cognitive audit. You know the drill. Get a piece of paper, make 3 columns. Column number 1 is what your job description says you should be doing. Column number 2 is what you actually do every day. Column number 3 is looking at column number 2 and asking yourself, from all of these things, what could AI be doing with little to no supervision? That will go into column number 3. As mentioned before, most people who do this find out that 40 to 60% of their daily work actually falls into column 3. Now, that is not a death sentence for you. That is a roadmap. It is showing you exactly where to shift your energy and your attention towards the work that machines cannot do. Most of you will find that work in column 1 and also will be the reviewing of the work that AI does. On to pillar 2. Upgrade your AI model. If you're still on the free tier of ChatGPT or any other AI tool, upgrade it today. $20 a month. Use it professionally, not casually. Don't use it like Google. 1 hour per day of deliberate practice. Learn to prompt properly. Learn to integrate it into your actual workflow. This is not optional anymore. OpenAI themselves are telling you that AI access will be fundamental as electricity and water. If you do not learn to use it now, you will be like someone who could not use a computer in 2005. And I watched what happened to those people. It was not pretty. Pillar number 3, build your safety net. Now, this is a new one. So let me make this very clear. I am not a financial advisor, and I would advise you to either learn how to invest or get help from someone who knows to. Do not wait for portable benefit legislations or some sort of public wealth fund. Those are years away, if they come at all. Start building your financial independence now. Have an emergency fund covering at least 6 months of expenses, a retirement account that you can control, health insurance options that you have researched outside your employer. The less dependent you are on any single company or the government for that matter for your security, the more freedom you will have to make bolder career and other moves when the time comes. Pillar number 4, start a single side project. I was speaking to a friend the other day, and I told him that the next generation probably will not even know the word employee. I personally think with AI taking a chunk of jobs in the future, there will be consultants and entrepreneurs working with big companies on a project-to-project basis. Sam Altman has also pointed this out, that multi-million and billion-dollar companies would probably have between 1 to 3 employees in their organizations. So coming back to what OpenAI is saying, they are talking about AI first entrepreneurs and startups in a box. You do not need to wait for their micro grant program. Pick one thing today that you know better than people because of your 20 or 30 years of experience and explore how you could build something around it. It could be a consulting service, a digital product, a course, a community, anything. AI can handle the back office stuff. Your expertise is the front office. Start small, start messy. Just start. Pillar number 5, get into the room. Go to your manager or your leadership team this week and ask, how is AI being deployed in the company? How is it being deployed in my department? What roles are being evaluated? What are the timelines? If they do not have answers, that tells you something. And if they have answers and you were not part of the conversation, that tells you something too. Either way, you know where you stand. And knowing where you stand is the first step to changing where you end up. So let me leave you with this. Sam Altman and OpenAI just published a 13-page blueprint for the future. You can agree with their motives or you can question them. Honestly, I think you should do both. But what you cannot do is ignore what they're saying. Because even if the messenger has a conflict of interest, the message is real. The transition to superintelligence AI is underway, and it is going to reshape work, income, and opportunity for everyone. The proposals they have put forward, the right to AI, entrepreneur support, 4-day work weeks, portable benefits, and workers' voice. These are not going to save you, not because the ideas are bad. Many of them are good, but because they require political will that does not currently exist. And they operate on timelines that are measured in decades, not in months. You do not have decades. You only have right now. So do the audit. Upgrade your tools, build your safety net, start your side project, and get into the room. Do not wait for governments or corporations to protect you. Architect your own future. This thing I'm talking about, it is not pessimism. That is realism from someone who sat across from 2,700 people who thought the systems would protect them. It did not. But here is the good news. You are listening to this, which means you are already ahead of most people. The fact that you are here thinking about this, preparing for it, that puts you in a position most people will not reach until it's too late. If this episode hit home, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Save it, come back to it. And if you need to go deeper, you know where to find me. But do reach out. Once again, I'm Bryce Barrows, your Future Readiness Architect. Just remember, the future belongs to those who are ready. Go be unstoppable. Thank you.